James Uthmeier, the Florida Attorney General. Sir, welcome to National Report. If you could maybe expand on what's going on, this back and forth. Why isn't there a state attorney who wants to welcome the help from your office, specifically going after criminals?
Yeah, look, this state attorney in Orlando, she's a radical leftist Soros prosecutor, and she doesn't want to do her job. We've had several examples in that jurisdiction where people have been let out on serious offenses only to commit murders just days or weeks later. People are dying because of her policies and the dangerous way in which she conducts herself. But it's not her job to decide whether or not to enforce the law. She took an oath to uphold and defend our Constitution, and that means when people do harm, you've got to put them away. So now she's claiming that she doesn't have the resources, and I think this is just an excuse. As public servants, we all work long hours. We're all strained. There's a ton of work to be done. Our case files are full, but you don't see these problems anywhere else in our state. So we sent down the cavalry. We got a bunch of prosecutors that are excited. I hope she'll accept them and give us some of these big cases, and we're going to make sure we put bad guys away for a long time.
Yeah, and unfortunately, AG, we see these stories in other states where there are district attorneys that really don't want to press forward on some of these criminals, or that there's no bail, and you'll see these criminals back out on the streets, like you stated, and recommitting more crimes, if you will. But getting to your specific story, following your press conference, which we just showed our viewers, Attorney Worrell responded to your remarks at a sit-down interview. We actually have that. Watch.
The tone of those comments was to imply that I was incapable of doing my job. And that is the reason that it was so important for me to illustrate how far back this problem goes. I won't be bullied. I'm going to do what the people of this circuit elected me to do. And I've done that in the past. I'm going to continue to do that in the future.
Are you bullying her, as she states?
No, I'm trying to keep the people of Florida safe. And if she's not going to do it, I'm going to step in and make sure it gets done. I saw those comments, but what I don't see is an answer. Are you going to take our help or not? If resource constraints are truly the reason why you're not doing your job, then open up the door. Let us in. We're here to help.
What kind of backlog are we really talking about here, AG? I mean, how many criminals are waiting to actually have their case heard, or alleged criminals, I should say?
Yeah, somewhere between 1,200 and 1,300 cases, and this is disproportionately high compared to circuits all over the rest of the state. So I don't know the status of all those cases. I fear some of these cases may be, exceeding statute of limitations and unable to be prosecuted. But we don't know unless we can get in and help, and that's what we're trying to do. At the end of the day, our job as prosecutors is to keep Florida safe, and we're going to make sure she stands true to that commitment.
That seems to be the case surrounding Florida as a whole, and then you have some of these, I guess I would call them outliers, right, in terms of the entire state. It's seemingly everyone's on the same page in that state, really just kind of got it together during the DeSantis administration. And you mentioned in the soundbite that we played earlier that Worrell is a Soros prosecutor. Obviously, these are elected officials. Can you explain for our viewers who may not be aware of how money gets poured into elections, and maybe how there are billionaires that get involved?
Absolutely, yeah. So, George Soros has poured millions of dollars into races across the country. There's clearly a very radical leftist effort to get prosecutors in office who don't want to enforce rule of law, who want to let people back on the streets, who want to promote sanctuary jurisdictions. And here in Florida, Governor DeSantis has been a great leader. 5+ years ago, we enacted new legislation to make clear we are not going to have a single sanctuary city in this state, and we're not going to allow any of these Soros prosecutors to enact policies, blanket policies that say we are not going to enforce certain laws. Our governor has already shown he's willing to exercise his constitutional duty to suspend people from office, and he's put people on notice. If you don't do your job, he's going to yank you out. And you have some of these prosecutors in these far left jurisdictions that get back in power. That's what happened here in Orlando. But we're going to hold her accountable. If she's not going to do her job going forward, there will be repercussions.
Information. truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.